analysis of the market. If Hannon trained Twin Sails and Ivory trained Racket, how would the market have this race?
Closer, definitely, because you concentrate on the fact that Dean Ivory's horse won first time out in Newbury. He doesn't have that many first time out winners. It's a big field. It was Newbury, and if you're right, if it comes from a more fashionable yard, it is undoubtedly factored into the price. There's no doubt about that. So I think the order would be the same in answer to your question, because I think the form of Racket at the moment is more solid than the form of Twin Sails. But I think the disparity between the two would be narrower.
He just won. He won by a nose and got the better of Brian Means, John Splendid.
What do you think about dropping in trip?
This is what I was going to say. He's a son of Sir Percy, and I thought he sort of hit the line well that day.
Yeah.
I think that ultimately Racket might have more speed than he does.
I certainly think in time he's going to want further than 6 furlongs, isn't he?
Absolutely.
It was a really good start to his career, and it was a big field. I remember I think Eddie was working on that night and was giving it a good, or that day I beg your pardon, was giving it a good mention. Gave it a good mention in the paddock before. I thought it was a nice looking horse, and it duly lived up to all that pre-race talk. But in an ideal world, I wouldn't have thought he'd be dropping in trip.
And just a quick look at his pedigree. So the numbers that you see are invariably 7, 1, 9. Do you see what I mean? Further than the 6. So in time, you're right. I think that Further will see Twin Sails at his peak.
Yeah, and he's got to give £6 away to Racket as well. So, but nonetheless, it was all what you said. It was a very promising start to his career, and there's Racket going down first.
Yeah, and just looking at Racket's action, once again, it is quite sort of a little bit scratchy. I don't know what you think about it, but they're quite good shots here.
Yeah, I mean, compare the two.
Yeah,
there's sort of a fluency about the.
One's a little bit more languid and sort of fluent, like as you say.
Absolutely. So I mean, scratchy is the right word. He doesn't cover too much ground when he's in his slower paces. That's for sure.
And do you think against a better sort of quality of individual that those sort of warning signs? The caveat to all that is that we're aware he was a very impressive winner last time out, but those sort of slight issues he might have early on in the race, just finding his feet quite literally, will sort of bear out negative effects on his sort of overall sort of achievements.
I mean, this is it's part of the natural progression of a 2-year-old. This is a slight step up in class. He's gone and won his maiden. On paper, it wasn't a great maiden, but he's won it really well. He's now going on to a conditions race where he's taking on, at various terms, 3 other winners. So it's a slightly different test. And most horses, in a sense, reach a plateau. Whether his the idiosyncrasy he has early in his race will mean he reaches that plateau sooner, I don't know. We'll find out about him today, really.
Let's talk about the others then. Unilit and Me have, between them, had 9 starts. Me 5, Unilit 4. Unilit got off the mark at the 4th time of asking. Me a winner 2nd time out. Does their form give them any hope here? Are they far behind the two sort of at the top of the market?
At the best, it says, I'd marginally prefer Unilit of the two, mainly because she's getting weight. She's a filly. She showed a good attitude when winning at Pontefract last time, but the time was ordinary, and I'm sure she needs to improve on that to beat Twin Sails, let alone Racket. I think Thea Me, who's just he's consistent. But he's from what we've seen so far, he has his limitations, and you'd be surprised if we could give the weight away to Racket, among others.
And then 2 newcomers that we need to touch on. A Faster Company, a son of Fast Company, who was a very good 2-year-old for Brian Meehan. Did he win the Aiken?
Yeah, I think he might have done, as it happens. Yeah, I think he did.
And Kid Me Never, a son of Baltic King.
Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon, Ollie. Sorry. No, Fast Company's quite interesting on breeding, isn't it? Again, it didn't cost very much. I thought on paper it would have cost a bit more, because the breeding is not bad. Fast Company.
He's had winners, Fast Company.
Yeah, absolutely. But also there's the dam, who was unraised, but was a half sister to come from a decent family. Half sister to a Group 3 winner. There is speed in the family, but I mean, it's a 40-to-1 chance and clearly not fancied. And Stanmore, who's responsible for the other newcomer as well, is by a Baltic King who was a good sprinter out of an unraced mare. I found that harder to be too positive about, but they both clearly, in a race like this, got a tough ask on their debuts.
How do you imagine this race will unfold?
Mies has shown pace in his race. I wouldn't have thought Racket's going to be making all, but I wouldn't have thought Twin Sails is either.
I just want to get over to Richard Early if we can, because he's sort of best placed for all 3 of Racket's starts to tell us about the action. What did you make of it today, Richard?
He just doesn't extend fully on the way down, does he? It's just his nature. It found him out first time on softer ground. Twin Sails, you say, you can see the two going side by side. Twin Sails uses himself a lot better, but Racket does handle fast ground. I'm surprised there's quite as much between them in the market as there was at one stage. It's been narrowing up late. Last one in, Thee and Me. All set for the New Forest Farm Machinery John Deere Auction Stakes, and they're off and racing. A little bit awkward from the stalls was Kid Me Never, out well Thee and Me and Unilit. Both very experienced. Racket towards the outside in the red sleeves, Twin Sails next in the orange. Having missed the start, Kid Me Never a little fired up in the light green colours, and towards the inside Faster Company. The early pace is not a strong one. Unilit leads from Thee and Me under restraint. Racket in the red sleeves on the outside of market rival Twin Sails, then towards the inside Faster Company, and last of all Kid Me Never. Making the descent then on towards halfway. Unilit leads by a length, begins to up the pace slightly. Thee and Me in second. Racket just keeping Twin Sails tight in behind the front two at the moment. Then Faster Company and Kid Me Never. Kid Me Never still travels okay, and they're past halfway here. Unilit out in front from Thee and Me. Racket and still Twin Sails looking for spying a gap. The outside Kid Me Never's run a mighty race here in the light green colours, travelling as well as anything. And then Faster Company, 5 across the course, a furlong and a half to go. Twin Sails orange colours, then Unilit. Standside Kid Me Never. Twin Sails moves narrowly to the front past Unilit. Kid Me Never just now dying on the run. Twin Sails, Unilit digging in the filly on the far side, but it's Twin Sails narrowly in front. Twin Sails pushed out towards the line. Will emulate his father, Sir Percy, and win this race. Twin Sails beats Unilit tight for third between Faster Company, who ran a good race, then Racket and Kid Me Never, the other Stanmore horse, neither of whom were at all disgraced.
That's another impressive win for Twin Sails. Makes it 2 from 2. Had to give way to all his rivals. He's returned at 15-8, and he's got the better of Unilit, who's run really well for Mick Shannon. As Richard mentioned in commentary, both Faster Company and Kid Me Never were fully justified in having a crack at this race because they've run really well on debut. Kid Me Never travelled really nicely into the race. Faster Company showed a really willing attitude. Racket was in trouble a fair way from home, but I think if you were a supporter of Racket, you'd almost half in the back of your mind go, well, any time now it's going to click and then kick on. It didn't quite happen, and perhaps against a better quality of horse, Racket wasn't able to show what we saw last time out. But I can't help but be really impressed by what we're seeing in the first 2 starts of this horse's career. The winner I'm referring to, Twin Sails, because as we've touched on, future probably lies over further. Sir Percy, the sire of this horse, won this race before going on to Derby Glory, as we've touched on. Dean Ivory and his team have got a really good horse on their hands here.
Yeah, and I don't think we're wrong by concentrating on the fact that 6 might be his minimum. You've got great shot there again after the line. He has really run through the line strongly. He's very, very strong at the finish, and he was taking ages to pull up. I'm absolutely sure he will improve on this form over 7 furlongs. He was good enough to win. His class was good enough to win, but I'm sure he'll be better over 7. I think it's a bit of a muddly race in terms of pace. That shouldn't have suited him. Racket was disappointed. You're right about the flat spot that he hit before. I didn't like the way he hung when he's being ridden. He's hung across to his right and